What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above. We are a premium DFS content provider designed to make you a better DFS player. We are also a DFS community, which is one of the biggest aspects of what we do. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we go live. You don't want to miss out on anything that we do. We cover a multitude of sports. Our specialties: NBA, NFL, MLB quickly approaching. We will be ready for the regular season. Almost finished with the MLB projections. It's going to be really, really fun. Very fun year. With that said, we're still in the midst of NBA. It's been a little unpredictable lately. It's been a lot of weird variant stuff happening in the NBA, guys not getting minutes, and that's just what happens, right? You got certain teams who have nothing to play for, all sorts of things like that. So it gets wild, and we have to kind of adapt accordingly and kind of really pay attention. This is a pretty decent slate from what it looks like. We have a 9-gamer. Boston should provide a lot of value. We'll get there when we get to that game. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. The likes go a long way. They really help us out, allow us to continue to do what we do, allow us to continue to do the free content. We like to do it because I like talking to y'all. I like hanging out with y'all. And that's what it is, right? It's really we're hanging out talking about the slate. So appreciate y'all. The projections you see on the screen are the WiseTake projections. These are the projections that I make, projections that I use. If you want access, you can go to wisetake.com and get a day pass or just join with the monthly. The monthly comes with a Slack chat. You can get up in there, talk the slate with a lot of our other members, our analysts. It's a good time. We're all about DFS dominance, right? That's what it's all about, taking over the DFS industry, if you will. So I'm here hanging out with Patches, doing a show a little earlier than usual. Got to take Patches to the vet, a little checkup action. Had him for about, 11 days, 12 days? So it's about time he goes to the vet, gets checked out. But he's doing good, if anyone is wondering. More pictures. I'll post a little update. He got a lot bigger. I'll post a little update on the Twitter at CK_013 for those interested. I know a lot of you guys are into the dog stuff, so... with that said, let's go ahead and jump in here. I know, like I said, it's a little bit of an odd time, so if you're not catching us live like you usually do, we should be back to regular time tomorrow. But if I can do them earlier, I'd like to do them earlier, just kind of get you guys something out as early as I can. Obviously, I wake up in the morning, got my morning routine I got to do, and got to take the dog, got to take the dog to, outside and make sure he's good to go before we do this. Because if I don't get his ass working out and shit, there's no way he's just going to sit around and be cool. And you can hear him. He cries and shit all the time. So he's a baby. He's like 14, 15 weeks, some shit like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get up in this. It's time to break down some basketball. We got our first game, which is the Indiana Pacers visiting the Milwaukee Bucks. We've got a 223.5 total that's currently up from 222, which was the open. The Bucks are currently 11.5 point favorites at home. It's a pretty big number for a Pacers team that's supposed to be pretty good, one of the better teams in the East. But in my opinion, the Bucks seem like the best, at least in terms of the regular season goes. I'm sure James Harden would think otherwise, as they're led by Giannis. But it is what it is. That's the situation at hand. I'm going to put up the schedule in the notes article. It's a free article at wisetake.com. My boy Jay Irv does it. Just keeps you updated with the NBA schedule in terms of who's in a 4 and 6, who's on a back-to-back, who's off tomorrow, who plays tomorrow, all that kind of stuff. I recommend you start your research with that on the daily. So looking at the Pacers, who had a day off. Milwaukee has also had a day off. Milwaukee's in a 4 and 6 stretch, but again, they've had a day off in between. Pretty big spread. I was actually surprised when I just looked at it for the first time. I was like, damn. It's a revenge spot for Malcolm Brogdon. He's also played bigger minutes recently. Victor Oladipo missed the last game. I think he missed the last couple of games. So we'll keep an eye on his status. If he plays, his price is down. I know he's not projecting all that well for us, and they've been reluctant to give him a full 30 minutes despite saying he's not on a minutes limit. But we know that he's got the upside. We know he's capable. Last year, he was a player that we thought was worthy of being in the 7 to 8K range on most nights. So trying to get ahead of it still. If you have been, it's probably been hurting you a little bit. Maybe not on FanDuel where he's been cheap, but on DraftKings it maybe. But we'll see his status. I'm assuming he's going to play. If he does, that's going to affect TJ Warren a little bit, although he's been on a tear. He's been playing massive minutes, and I think the last time these guys played, he's the one that balled out. But I do have my eye on Brogdon in tournaments, not even for the revenge, just for I think the price is reasonable. I think his usage is decent, and I'm hoping we get somebody out here. But if not, certainly an option. I think Sabonis' price is actually interesting too. It's rare that he projects well, but remember, the Pacers are getting a massive pace boost here against Milwaukee, who does play very fast, despite the fact that they are a pretty good defensive team. in terms of efficiency. So Sabonis and Brogdon are my main two. I don't want to ignore Warren. I'd include him in the game stack. And to be honest, I mean, 6-1's probably not high enough for the minutes he's been getting. But again, I do anticipate Oladipo playing and that interfering a little bit in some of these guys' usage. Miles Turner's played really well also. On FanDuel, I'm not crazy about the 6-3 price tag, but the blocks go a lot further there. 5-5 on DraftKings, though, where you can get credit for a double-double, etc., does make some sense to me. On the Milwaukee side, Bledsoe's price is really low, but his minutes have been way down. I mean, way down. I'm not really sure. He's been bad, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it or if they've just been trying to get him some rest. But looking at Eric Bledsoe, he's played 21 minutes against Miami, and that was an 89-105 game. He played 22 minutes against Charlotte and went forward 8.73 fantasy points. 22 minutes against OKC, that was a massive blowout. So kind of hard to predict. That was a back-to-back stretch where he played the 22 and the 21, but just doesn't seem all that aggressive either. So I'm a little nervous about that. The Pacers have some good defenders. However, we have seen guards blow them up at times. So Bledsoe's a guy to keep an eye on to really consider as you go through. Middleton is back, and he's been the one that's gotten the most minutes between Giannis, him, and Bledsoe, or at least recently. However, he also missed some time due to a sore back or something, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take it easy with him. And then there's Giannis. If this game is close, Giannis should see 33 to 34 minutes, and he's got massive ceiling. If the game is not close, as the spread indicates, then he may only get 29, 28 minutes. So that's kind of where you're at. You got decisions to make depending on how much value we have opened up. And we're going to have value with Boston, I think. Nothing official, but we'll talk about it when we get there and why. Let's move on to the next. We've got the Oklahoma City Thunder visiting the Detroit Pistons. We've got a 211 total down from 214. The Thunder opened up -7. They're up to -7.5. Detroit's been bad, obviously. The Thunder got beat up a little bit yesterday by the Clippers. This is the back end of a back-to-back for them. That they were rested before that. Detroit's had 2 days off, but they are really banged up, even more banged up than before. Starting with the Thunder side, this is a really good spot for Adams. It was yesterday too, and he didn't quite get there, but this is a really good spot. Centers have been destroying Detroit. If you don't want to pay up for Adams, maybe you want to settle for Nerlens Noel, maybe set a rule not to play them together, whatever you want to do. But Detroit's just been awful against bigs, just getting destroyed on every level. Similarly to Minnesota, what's been happening with Minnesota as well. So even though he doesn't project well, I may do something to adjust that. On FanDuel, he does project well. On DraftKings, it's where he's kind of slacking at 6-7. And the price is probably an overpay. It's just a really good matchup. Danilo Gallinari remains cheap on both sides. I'm cool with him as well. Chris Paul's price a little elevated on DraftKings. More of just a tournament thing for me. Dennis Schroeder is an option. On FanDuel, I prefer him at 5-1. 5-9 on DraftKings, kind of a stretch in a game that you anticipate getting ugly. You anticipate playing at a really slow pace. Both of these teams play slow. OKC, a pretty good defensive team. Above average, and Detroit's not good defensively. They just play slow, and they get their ass kicked often. Speaking of Detroit, we got some value opening up here. So Derrick Rose expected to be out. Luke Kennard's still out. Bruce Brown expected to be out. So you can see that they have no more point guards left. It looks to me like Brandon Knight is going to be playing a shit ton of minutes again, and his usage has been phenomenal. He's only gotten 25 minutes each of the last 3 games. His usage, though, has been awesome. So you can see he projects well for us on DraftKings specifically. On FanDuel, still not quite there. We may have to make some adjustments, look into that. I know I got him for a high on a minutes limit. 33 minutes is kind of a lot. If he starts, I'll leave it there, maybe even raise it. If he doesn't start, then I may have to lower this. But I'm definitely interested at 4,500 on DraftKings, being that they have no more guards. You got him. You got Jordan Poole. Maybe we see Langston Galloway get some action there. But I'm Jordan Poole. Jordan Bone. My bad. Bone. How could I? J-Bone. I used to have a dog named J-Bone. But anyway, so as you can see, we've got some value to work with. Svi Mihajlovic, we got him over 30 minutes, and I think he hits it because they just don't have the bodies. And 3,700 on FanDuel, 39 on DraftKings, certainly viable. Christian Wood, I don't mind for tournaments. I'm concerned about this game staying close, but he's gonna, the usage for Christian Wood when he's on that court should be massive. It should be pretty much him and Brandon Knight's show today. John Henson, I don't mind if you think he's going to get extra minutes. Kind of hard to project at that point. But there's some guys. You got Kyrie Thompson, Dante Haldy. They might have to play some of these guys a little bit because of how thin they are in general. But I do expect, if this game is competitive, I expect Svi, Brandon Knight, and Christian Wood to see a ceiling in minutes and really have all the usage they want. So, how about that? Let me pop into the chat real quick. I know we're at an odd time. Oh, man, we're light today. It's all good. Early bird gets the worm, right? Early bird gets the worm. If you haven't already hit the like button, guys, please hit that like button. Not a lot of you in here just yet, but it's all good. I know we're doing this at an unusual time for us. But we gotta do, man. Gotta get the dog to the vet. I got shit to do. Maybe get to the gym if I have time. Yeah, right. We'll see. Yeah, right. All right, let's go on to the next game. We've got the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this is a pretty interesting game. We have a lot of news to wait for. One of the weirder games on the slate last night, Boston was losing players as they went. They were dominating the Nets. The Nets ended up playing their backup second unit against them, who came back on them, took them to OT. It was a crazy game. With that said, right now, I looked across the board. So Jason Tatum, from what I understand, did not travel with the team to Cleveland because he is sick. Hangover from hell, maybe, after his birthday. Gordon Hayward got hurt in the game last night and didn't come back. Jaylen Brown pulled a hamstring or tweaked a hamstring at some point, didn't come back. Kemba Walker's just not going to play because that was his first game back after injury. So, to me, I mean, right now, Jaylen Brown is not official. Gordon Hayward's not official. I think Hayward is doubtful. Jaylen Brown's the one that's truly questionable. I just don't see how Jaylen Brown could play. There was a game yesterday where they needed him, and he tweaked his hamstring enough to where he couldn't come back in. I just don't see that healing overnight. And they're playing Cleveland, so if there was ever a shot to kind of let the guys run out and try to steal a win, this would be it, I would think. We have a 216.5 total. Cleveland, I'm sorry, the Celtics are currently 2-point favorites on the road. This is a back end of a back-to-back for the Celtics. The Cavs have had a day off. This is a 4-6 stretch, but they have had a day off. So, being what it is, Brad Wanamaker played 28 minutes last night. That was with Kemba Walker there. That was with Jaylen Brown playing a lot of the game. So I expect Wanamaker to get some run again today. I don't usually like him, but if they are missing Hayward, Brown, if they're missing their whole starting lineup, then obviously guys are going to have to step it up. And the problem is we don't really have big sample sizes to work with on the numbers to see who is really the one to step it up. It's rare that all these guys miss, and we don't even know for sure that that's the case. So make sure you're paying attention to the Boston news. I'd be surprised if anybody played. I think Marcus Smart and Daniel Tice are the only actual. I mean, if you want to call them starters, Smart don't even usually start. He only usually starts when there's an injury. So, with that said, I've got Smart over projected. He played 36 minutes last night. He fouled out of the game. So that was the reason he didn't. He played really well. He just fouled out of the game. So that made sense as to why he only got 36 minutes in an overtime game. Should he play? He's not hurt. I'm assuming he plays. He was sick also. Assuming he does play, I'm going to have to like him because I don't see how I think he's going to stay on the court, and I think his usage is going to be ridiculously high. So I will like Marcus Smart if the situation is how it is. Daniel Tice, I would expect his usage to go up. Cantor's a guy we're really going to have to look at and consider. His usage rate, as far as his point per minute average, is massive without these guys on the court. The issue is, are they going to play him? And I would think that they're going to find a way to play him. I would like it to see him start. If he doesn't start, it's going to get risky. They do have Robert Williams back. He only played a few minutes last night because he just came back from injury, but he's there to still take away. And so it's a little concerning, but maybe Cantor does see minutes. We have him for 17, and you can already see his point per minute average. He projects for over 6x on DraftKings. So this is a situation between Javonte Green, who's one of the better point per minute averages if he gets a chance to run. Grant Williams, who's actually gotten some work and extremely cheap on both sides. I would expect him to get some minutes. Semi Ojeleye should get minutes. Maybe Romeo Langford gets some minutes. So, and again, like, even though their projections we're going to have to really take control of as we get closer to lock, because these are situations we haven't seen these guys in this situation without all these guys. So it's one thing when two of them are playing, but Jaylen Brown and Tatum are on the court, or Kemba and Tatum are on the court, or whatever the case may be. It's a totally different thing if all those guys are gone. Especially Marcus Smart, not the best shooter out there. So they're going to need some guys to step up and score. And they're playing Cleveland. So if there was ever a shot, like I said, for them to hang around and play a good game with their scrubs, if you want to call them that, I would think this would be it against Cleveland. So there should be some pretty good value we can get from here. Just going to be sifting through and trying to figure out who's going to be the ones to really step it up, who's going to get the minutes, because the sample sizes we don't know. On the Cleveland side of the ball, Cedi Osman projecting the best as far as value goes. He played big minutes. In that last game, Thompson and Drummond were out. Drummond is still out. Darius Garland still out. So they're relatively thin, at least in terms of the players in their player pool at the moment. I think that if Thompson does play, which I think he's probable, I would assume he gets 30 minutes plus. And on FanDuel, he's really cheap at $5K. On DraftKings at 6.4, we got some work to do. But it is a pretty good matchup against Boston. Colin Sexton just really, really balled out in that last game when they were thin. Just got really aggressive. Sexton played 39 minutes against Utah, went for 50 DraftKings points. He was very efficient, 11 for 17 from the field. So whenever you're relying on efficiency, there's always some doubt that can creep into your head. But again, for a team that's a little low on their guards with no Darius Garland, I'm going to raise him to actually 39 minutes, which should certainly help. Kevin Porter Jr. took all the minutes he can handle last game. He needed it to really get there, but he did what he had to do. They do have one more body, so I don't know if he gets a ceiling. I think Nance is the most likely to get affected by that body coming in, and we did lower in that last game. We had Nance projected for like 37 minutes along with Kevin Porter Jr. In this case, we have him at 30, assuming Thompson is back. Kevin Love played really well starting at center. I'm assuming if Thompson is back and starting, he goes back to the 4. He's really cheap on FanDuel at 6'6", so I'm good with him there. On DraftKings, just a tournament play for me. I don't mind it. Part of me wants him to sit so that we can load up on Porter, Nance, and just go crazy with that kind of stuff. But we'll have to take a wait and see approach again. These guys are thin, so there's going to be some plays here. They're not as thin with Thompson back, but it's still relatively thin. There's going to be some plays for us to really soak in, if you will. Let's go on to the next. We've got the Memphis Grizzlies visiting the Brooklyn Nets. We have a 223 total. The Nets opened up -2. They're down to -1.5 at home. This is the Grizzlies are in a 4-6. However, they've had a day off. Brooklyn's on the back end of a back-to-back in a 4-6, coming off overtime. Not a great spot for the Brooklyn Nets. Starting with the Memphis side, Kyle Anderson projecting fairly well for us as a value play. His minutes have been in flux. He got 33 against Sacramento, 31 against the Lakers, and he got 21 against Atlanta in a game where they just trounced Atlanta. And he hasn't played well, so I'm a little concerned about playing a guy like Kyle Anderson. I think I'd prefer to look at some of his teammates. Where do we have him here? Yeah, we'll lower him a little bit. Looking at what I wanted to look at was the Anthony Melton. I know he didn't do all that great because he just wasn't needed, but the Anthony Melton played 24 minutes, went for 25 DraftKings points, 22.1% usage rate. Maybe he would have gotten more if they needed him, but that just wasn't the case. So I think Melton is okay. Brooks is fine. This is a very soft defense. They don't play fast anymore, Brooklyn, but this is a soft defense. John Morant, maybe someone, if you feel confident about, you want to give him a full minute increase to a full slew of minutes. His minutes are variant, so it's sometimes kind of hard to project. He got 24 minutes against Atlanta in a blowout, 34 against the Lakers, 35 against Sacramento. So if you think he balls, then you put him up at 34 minutes, 35 minutes. If you think it's just a standard game for him, like if we put him at 34, that should significantly help his projection out. And again, if this game is close and he's needed, he should play that much. So I don't think it's out of the realm. It's just, again, hard to project because he's been very inconsistent on a minutes basis. Jonas Valanciunas, with the injuries, it kind of seems like they have to play him. They could play Gorgie Deng in his place. This is a spot that's really good for bigs. I don't like his DraftKings price at 7-8, but on FanDuel, he's still within reach. Joe Val was on his way to really make people pay. He was really chalky against Atlanta. Ended up only finishing with 38 DraftKings points, which was only 5.6x, but that's because he only got 25 minutes because his team just dominated. So if you think this game stays close, you project him for 30, 31 minutes. 30 and a half, whatever you want to do, and that should help his projection out. Maybe even a little bit more if need be. On FanDuel, it'll help him out at 7-1. On DraftKings, you need a lot more than that at 7-8, but it is a really good matchup for him. Tyus Jones played well in his last game. His price came up a little bit. Josh Jackson, kind of an enigma. We're not really sure what their plan is with him. They don't seem to want to play him all that much, but certainly a game-stackable game. Looking at the Brooklyn Nets, Karis LeVert went nuts last night. Dinwiddie kind of got benched, it looked like. I'm willing to go back to Dinwiddie. This is a really good spot for guards. Brooklyn is going to be paced up against Memphis, who's been playing fast. It's LeVert and Dinwiddie as your main two pieces. Then you can start looking at the Jared Allens, the Taurean Princes, and get a little cute with those guys. But I do actually like Dinwiddie. I know his price is kind of up, but I do like Dinwiddie. It's hard to ignore LeVert at 6K on FanDuel. I would assume he's going to be pretty popular over there. This is a good spot for Brooklyn. It's an overtime game. Like I said, Dinwiddie, I don't even think Dinwiddie played all that many minutes. Dinwiddie played 23 minutes last night. It was just weird. And the Nets came back with their second unit. You couldn't even blame the coach. LeVert with the second unit was just doing dirty. So LeVert went for 66 DraftKings points, played 36 minutes in an overtime game. Again, with Dinwiddie only getting 23 minutes, LeVert had all the usage. 36% usage rate is what he averaged. Took 26 shots. So I'm good with LeVert, but I think I kind of prefer Dinwiddie again. assuming that people flock more towards LeVert. Maybe we get Dinwiddie at lower ownership. But definitely, like I said, a game stackable game indeed. If you haven't hit the like button already, guys, please hit that like button. You'll hear me say that throughout the show. I know a lot of you are probably going to end up watching this after the fact, as I did this show a little earlier than usual. But get in there, do the dirty, hit that like button. Really helps us out. Next up, what we got? We got the Utah Jazz visiting the New York Knicks. Very exciting game to talk about. Very exciting. We've got a 218.5 total down from 220. The Jazz opened up -7.5. They're up to -8. It is the Knicks. Both teams working with a day off. Starting with the Utah side, there wasn't a ton that stood out to me. I don't mind Mike Conley. I think that we could probably raise his minute projection. And point guards have done well against the Knicks recently. Now, that's led to Frank Nitty getting some run against Houston. But in general, Elf's kind of getting sliced. His whole career, he's kind of gotten sliced, which is crazy because I think in college he was considered the defensive player of the year, at least for 1 year, defensive player of the conference, something. Must not be some very good defenders in that one. Donovan Mitchell in the Garden. I think his dad played for the Mets, right? He's got some attachments to New York. If you want narrative, he's there. Easier to reach him on FanDuel at 7.3. A little tougher to get there at 8.1, but that's going to lower his ownership. Conley, even with 33 minutes, still not getting there. So the prices of Utah just not really matching up. And it makes sense. Both these teams play relatively slow. So in terms of pace, there's not as much opportunity. Going to the Knicks side of the ball, Elfrid Payton got 23 minutes, 22 minutes, just barely played. That was concerning. We see them do that with Randall at times. I don't think it's a consistent thing. I think they will go back to playing Elf. I think they were playing Houston, so Harden and Westbrook, they wanted Nitty on the court. RJ Barrett was playing really well, so I think he just kind of got phased out. But in this situation, maybe we do see him get that run again. Nothing more than a tournament play. Any Knick is nothing more than a tournament. Unless they have nobody there, I just don't see how you could play Knick in cash. DSJ expected to be out still too, so I do think, even though Frank Nitty got it last time, I think that was more on a need basis. I do think that we'll see Elf get some run. And I don't mind the Elf-Randall correlation. I never mind that. Again, the issue is it's a big risk, and the Knicks have nothing to play for, so we're starting to see them switch their rotations up to make things uncomfortable for us. Next up, we got the Orlando Magic visiting the Miami Heat. Let's see what we got here. This is a very slow-paced game. We've got a 219 total. Actually, not bad for these two teams. Both teams play slow. Miami opened up -7. They are currently at -7 at home. Both teams working with a day off. They are in 4 and 6 stretches, but again, they are working with a day off. Vucevic has played well. I think the price is still reasonable. Aaron Gordon is questionable. If Aaron Gordon misses, I will like Vuce even more. If Gordon is in, we have to take a look at Gordon, even though his price has been up. His usage, ever since the slam dunk thing didn't go his way, has been massive. His minutes have been massive. Obviously, he was not playing like this to start the season, so his projection for the season is not showing up well, but I will be giving him a boost if he plays. I'm just going to wait on the word for that. The other guys, you know what it is. Markelle Fultz, Evan Fournier, Terrence Ross. We prefer an injury before we really get too gung-ho on these guys. But if we do get that injury, I will come back and we'll raise some of these guys' projections. But Vooch looking like the strongest right now with or without Gordon. On the Miami side, Jimmy Buckets, I'm always cool with. I know it's a slow-paced matchup, but I think Buckets can do some work. Duncan Robinson should get big minutes, be asked to shoot a lot of threes. Goran Dragic's minutes have been up. He's got massive upside. Those would be my favorites. I don't hate Bam Adebayo. I don't love Bam Adebayo. He's just kind of like there. And, similarly to the other teams, like Kendrick Nunn's another one. You never really know when he's going to get a ceiling of minutes. Derrick Jones Jr. and Olynyk are playing this weird game. So even so, they have been a little more tough to project outside of Jimmy Buckets. Really just him. And what Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson has been getting big minutes, but his efficiency has been hard to predict. So nothing too exciting here. Little in-state rivalry action. Next up, we got the Chicago Bulls visiting the Minnesota Timberwolves. We have a 229 total. The T-Wolves opened up -3. They're up to -3.5. Hard to envision them being favored, but we know Levine is out on the other side. The Bulls have had a day off. Minnesota's on the back end of a back-to-back in the midst of a 4 and 6. So very tough schedule stretch for Minnesota. Starting with Chicago. So Wendell Carter, I think, is slowly getting more minutes. In his first game back, he got 18. Second game, he got 23. So they're slowly raising him. I think maybe today he does get up to 25, 26. On FanDuel, I think that's really fair at 4K. On DraftKings at 5.5, just seems like we could do better. We could find better. Satoransky on FanDuel at 5.3, looking okay on DraftKings as well. He got into foul trouble in his last game, so I think that's the reason he only got 31 minutes. I think he would have played 33, 34 had he not gotten into foul trouble. Denzel Valentine looked awesome. He balled out. He started for Levine. We want to keep an eye on that. Keep in mind, though, that Lauri Markkanen is expected to play this game. I think he'll be limited, but he is expected to play. Valentine had a 33.6% usage rate when he was on the court. The downside, he only got 21 minutes. So he shot 50% from the field, just about 7 for 15, a little under. But you needed that. Had he not been efficient, we would have been in trouble, especially with those minutes. But he was efficient. He balled out for us, went for 27 DraftKings points at min price. That's 9.2x. Holla. So I'm interested. I'm willing to go back. That usage rate is too high to ignore. It's a pace-up matchup, one of the best matchups in DFS going up against Memphis in terms of pace, defense, everything. So I am willing to go back to Valentine if he starts. If he does not start, I'm going to be reluctant to raise him, to have high exposures of him, because if he doesn't start, even when he started, he only got 21 minutes. Now we have one guy back, even though it's not his position, it's still a body. And again, the fact that he only got 21 minutes was alarming. I'm willing to go back to Kobe White. He only got 32 minutes, but the usage I thought looked fine. What I like the most about Kobe White is he took 20 shots. It was 8 for 20 from the field. Could have been more efficient, but he took 20 shots. He did go for the 6X. Usage rate was 31.2, and that's kind of been his deal over the last 5 games. His usage rate has been over 30, so I like Kobe White again. I'm willing to load up. This is a pace-up matchup. I think he gets more shots. Maybe he even gets more minutes. I would like it if they just started his ass, but even so, coming off the bench, I'm still cool with it. Thad Young, we would expect to see a decline in minutes with Lauri Markkanen back. They could play Lauri Markkanen at the 5. Maybe they played that at the 4 to work them in together. But I would assume as of now that he gets the biggest hit. And with his price elevated, it makes it a little bit tough. But obviously his ownership would be low. Shaq Harrison, the minutes just weren't there. Now Lauri Markkanen's back. I'm a little nervous. Otto Porter looked really good. On FanDuel, I don't mind chancing him. He only played 18 minutes, but he played really well. DraftKings at 5.4, it's a little tougher unless we hear they're going to raise his minute limitation. But Kobe White, I'm going to get some Kobe White. As the way I'm looking at it right now, I know his price is up, but the dude took 20 shots. Hopefully he plays more minutes in a pace-up spot, like a massive pace-up spot. I like him quite a bit. Chicago side in a really good situation right now. On the Bulls side, Naz Reid went nuts yesterday for us. That was great. Had about 20% of him. Wasn't enough to really do damage, but I know Paulie was also really big on Naz Reid. Shout out to him. Malik Beasley, going to take his shot. Shooter's going to shoot. Curious to see what they do with D'Lo. It could be that it is a back-to-back 4 and 6, and they're not playing for nothing. See if they rest him, see if they play him. But as things stand the way they are, the Chicago side was more attractive because they're the ones getting boosted in pace. Chicago is a very slow-paced team. They're bad defensively, but they are a very slow-paced team. So nothing crazy with the Minnesota side. I'm fine with D'Lo as a potential spay-up, but Naz Reid, once again, looks poised to be in a really good spot, especially if Wendell Carter does start at the 5. That's really when the Bulls have been at their worst defensively in terms of big. So I'm interested in Naz Reid, especially on FanDuel at 4,500. I would anticipate him being pretty popular today after going for over 40 DraftKings points last night. And it is a tough part of the schedule, so keep that in mind. But we'll revisit this. I'll be tweaking these projections throughout the day to see where we are, to see where we kind of end up and fall. Next up, we got the New Orleans Pelicans visiting the Dallas Mavericks. Let's do it. We've got a 238.5 total, which is massive. Dallas opened up -6, or down to -5, which is cray. Back end of a back-to-back, 4 and 6 for New Orleans. 1 day off for Dallas, though it is a 4 and 6 for them as well. The prices have come up on these guys. Zion Williamson, Ingram, the prices have increased. They still project fairly well. This game has a massive total. Drew Holiday went nuts yesterday. I'm okay with taking shots on him. Lonzo Ball's been playing really well again. Again, the prices are elevated. I'm willing to overpay in a game stack. Outside of a game stack, we'll see how much we actually get to because the prices are kind of at that weird point. And the Dallas side is the side that's going to be paced up even more in this spot of going up against New Orleans. Looking at so I guess it's a wait-and-see approach. Ingram and Zion their prices are pretty equal. Yesterday they were a lot cheaper. Makes it a little bit tougher to reach them today. But again, in game stacks, I always say I'm willing to overpay, right? On the Dallas side, I like Luka again. Big surprise. I actually like Porzingis, even though he's overpriced. Again, I'll overpay in a game stack, but this definitely has game stack written all over it. Luka hasn't played as well as we'd like lately. I think he bounces back at some point. Kristaps Porzingis, they both should be playing today. And again, they're expensive, but this is a spot where, if we're going to take two of them together, it's going to be when they're against a super fast-paced team. So assuming they can keep this game close and competitive, I like them both. I like Luka more, obviously. He's going to be my favorite stud tonight. I can tell you that right now, even though he's been killing me over the last couple of days. The rest of the team I'm not really interested in. It's just when these guys are in, it's just them. When one of them's out, I'll look at the other pieces. But when the two of them are in, it's just them. So if we hear that one of them is going to be out, we'll come back and revisit this during the Wise stream, our flagship show at 5 p.m. Eastern, and we'll make some adjustments there. But in the meantime, I'm good with just leaving it at them. And again, I'm going to have to raise Porzingis because we're not going to get any at this clip. I will have to raise him. And I want to because centers have done really, really well against Minnesota in general. So matter of fact, what was interesting is they've been playing them like bigger minutes than normal. I know that last time it was a little bit different, but say we move them up to, if I put Porzingis at 36, we'll see what happens there in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to get ready to pop into that next game. And guys, if you haven't hit that like button, please hit the like button. It really helps us out, allows us to continue to do these shows for free. And we enjoy doing them. We like hanging out with you guys. So please hit that like button. The Porzingis update not going through at the moment, which is frustrating. It's updated. It's just Google Sheets got to catch that shit. Here we go. It's coming. It's coming now. It's coming. And there you go. That helped him out pretty significantly on DraftKings. 5.45x. That helped him out pretty significantly. And I probably give Luka a little something. Maybe like a quarter minute or something like that to kind of elevate him as well. Because I am going to want these guys. Last game, we got the Washington Wizards visiting the Portland Trailblazers. We've got a 239.5 total. This is probably the highest. So the two highest totals by far are the two late games. This one's the late night hammer all by itself at 10. As far as the spread, Portland currently 7.5 point favorites. Dame is expected to be back. Washington's on the back end of a back-to-back in the midst of a 4-6. They were getting destroyed by the Kings, and in one quarter made a great comeback to keep that game competitive. Portland's had a day off themselves. Bertans, Hachimura going to share the 30 minutes or so at the position, rotating in and out. Shabazz Napier continues to just start, but they're just reluctant to really let him go. He got 28 minutes last night, even though he didn't play all that well. So I can live with that. If they're going to give him something like 28, I'm willing to take some shots at him, especially in a fast-paced game like this. I think right now we were very conservative with him. I put him at 24.5. But if he were to get the 28 minutes, I would think that would help. We'll see what it looks like once it updates. Mo Wagner is 3,200 on FanDuel and 3,200 on DraftKings, 35 on FanDuel. You can see Shabazz on FanDuel went to almost 6x when I raised his minutes up. So something to keep in mind. The issue, of course, is guys are healthy. Pay attention to Thomas Bryant's status. Mo Wagner got 14 minutes last night, so obviously when Bryant and everybody's healthy, he's just not really high on the totem pole. Thomas Bryant got 19 minutes last night, played relatively well. We'll see if they're willing to play him on a back-to-back. If they sit him, then I think we can consider Mo Wags, and we will give a boost to Davis Bertans and Hachimura and some of their bigs. So keep an eye on his status as we go on. Bradley Beal's price is elevated. Can be tough to reach him. However, if you want to do a game stack, I think Beal does make sense. And I think his price is going to keep his ownership down. On the Portland side, Dame is going to be back. Is Dame going to be back and playing his 40 minutes and taking his 40 shots or whatever? I'm not quite sure. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. We'll have to see. Get some information. Obviously, CJ McCollum is going to be extremely hard to reach at this point with Dame back. His usage should go back down. Hassan Whiteside I do like, even at an elevated price, even with Dame back, because Washington is just terrible against bigs. I don't mind Trevor Ariza. We'd have to raise his projection on DraftKings to get a little more of him, but on FanDuel, he looks pretty strong at 5.94. A lot of players on Portland. Carmelo Anthony, Dame on Portland is a little easier to pull the trigger on at 9K, so there's some pretty good options, pretty good game. These last two games have the highest totals, so we're going to want to come back and make sure that their projections fit accordingly, but pay attention to Boston. That's going to be a situation that we really need to figure out and analyze. And of course, we'll be back with the Wise Stream at 5. The cheat sheets are updated for now. They are based off our projections, so go check them out if you have access to WiseTake.com. Be ready to recheck the projections and sheets later on after we make some updates once we start getting some news. But it's about 11:06 a.m. Eastern. We got a lot of time throughout the day. Start thinking about it. If you're in the WiseTake Nation, pop in the Slack, start brainstorming, talking some ideas. Be on the lookout for the articles, rest of the content to come out. And let's do dirties, man. DraftKings has the $4 donkey today. I'm not going to put as much as, I'm not going to do the 150 in there. I'm going to build about, a couple hundred teams probably, and I'll put in about like anywhere from 30 to 50 in that contest, and the rest I'll play my usual stuff. But it's a good slate, good contest, a good day to make some money. I like the late two games. It's a good day to do dirties. It's a good day to do dirties to your neighbors. So with that said, hit the like button if you haven't already. I really appreciate you guys. I know without notice, I kind of did the show a little bit earlier, so my bad. I didn't get a chance to interact with a lot of you. But you know what it is. We'll be back at it with 5 p.m. Come back, hang out with us. We'll be back at it tomorrow as well for the early look For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.